What will remain of you when your name is spoken for the last time? Not this year, not next year, but decades from now, when your voice is gone, your strength is spent, and your body is only memory. What exactly will still be alive because you once lived? Have you ever noticed how quietly most men disappear? They work, they struggle, they stay busy, and then one day they are gone, and the world barely pauses. No echo, no continuation, no evidence that their years meant more than survival. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If tomorrow were taken from you, would there be proof that you were here for a reason? Or only traces of effort, exhaustion, and unfinished intentions? This question does not accuse you, it reveals you. Most men think legacy is built at the end of life. In truth, it is shaped daily, through habits so small they appear harmless. Neglect them, and your life dissolves into routine. Obey them, and time itself becomes your accomplice. I have watched men chase recognition, wealth, and comfort, believing these would outlive them. Yet when the final hour came, none of those answered the question that mattered most. Did I become the man I was meant to be? Legacy is not what you leave behind. It is what continues because you existed. It is the invisible influence that moves through people, principles, and decisions long after you are gone. And it is built or destroyed one day at a time. Here is the danger you must see clearly. A man does not wake up one morning having failed his legacy. He fails it slowly, by drifting through days without intention, by postponing discipline, by confusing motion with direction. Tell me, how many mornings begin without a plan that commands you? How many days pass where your thoughts are scattered, your actions reactive, your purpose postponed until later? These are not small oversights. They are silent erasures. The world will not stop you from wasting your life. It will encourage it. It will reward distraction, praise comfort, and celebrate noise. Only you can decide to live deliberately, and only daily discipline can protect that decision. Every enduring legacy, without exception, was built on daily ritual. Not excitement, not inspiration, ritual. The kind that governs thought, directs action, and trains the mind to obey a higher standard, whether the mood agrees or not. You may believe this sounds ordinary. That belief has buried more potential than failure ever did. The most powerful laws always appear simple, until you measure the cost of ignoring them over 20 years. There are 4 daily acts that separate men who are remembered from men who are replaced. They are not dramatic. They are not impressive to the crowd. But they quietly decide whether your life compounds or evaporates. Do not ask yet what they are. First, ask yourself if you are ready to live with intention instead of impulse. Because once you see these disciplines clearly, there will be no excuse left, and no comfort in pretending you did not know. The man who leaves a legacy does not wait for permission. He does not wait for perfect conditions. He decides once, and then renews that decision daily, especially on the days he would rather not. If you adopt these 4 daily practices, something subtle but irreversible begins to happen. Your thinking sharpens, your presence deepens, your actions align. And people feel something around you they cannot name, but they remember it. This is not about ambition alone. It is about stewardship of your life, about honoring the years given to you, about refusing to arrive at the end with the quiet regret of unused power. Listen carefully now, not as a spectator, but as a man whose future is watching his daily choices. What you repeat becomes what you are, and what you are, repeated long enough, becomes your legacy. If you want to leave something that does not die with you, the work does not begin someday. It begins today, and it begins with what you do every single day. Thing 1, govern your mind before the world governs it. Legacy begins where most men never look, inside the boundaries of their own thought. A man who does not govern his mind daily will spend his life executing the plans, fears, urgencies, and moods of others. He may appear busy, even successful, but inwardly he is ruled. And a ruled man leaves no legacy, only traces of effort that dissolve with time. Drift is not a failure of talent. It is a failure of mental government. I have observed men of rare ability waste entire lifetimes because they never learned to decide what thoughts deserved residence in their minds. Their days were filled, but their direction was absent. Legacy is impossible without inner authority, because what is not governed cannot endure. Most men live mentally occupied, but not mentally directed. Their minds are crowded with impressions, opinions, fears, and borrowed desires. They react all day and call it thinking. Yet reaction is not thought. It is surrender. The mind that merely receives is not alive. It is occupied territory. Self-control has been misunderstood. It is not the suppression of emotion, nor the denial of feeling. It is rulership. It is the quiet, deliberate act of choosing which ideas may remain and which must be dismissed. The disciplined man does not fight every thought. He refuses entrance to those that do not serve his purpose. Every day, whether you intend it or not, you conduct a census of thought. Some ideas are permitted to stay. Others are allowed to linger unchecked. This silent permission shapes destiny more powerfully than any outward decision. I call this the daily mental census, the accounting of what ideas are allowed residence in your inner world. Unchecked thought becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character becomes destiny. This chain never breaks. A man may change his circumstances overnight, but he cannot escape the law that governs the growth of his inner world. What he repeatedly thinks, he eventually becomes. And what he becomes, the world remembers or forgets. There is a profound difference between thinking and merely allowing thoughts to pass. Thinking is an act of command. Allowing is an act of drift. The disciplined mind selects. The undisciplined mind absorbs. One builds, the other erodes. One leaves a legacy, the other leaves confusion behind. Great leaders appear calm not because they feel less, but because they decided long ago what they would not think. They trained themselves to deny entrance to panic, resentment, and fear. Their calm is not temperament, it is policy. It is the result of long obedience to inner law. During the gravest hours of national crisis, Abraham Lincoln trained himself to restrain reactive thought. He wrote letters he never sent. He delayed response until emotion gave way to reason. He understood that a single uncontrolled thought, once spoken, could cost lives and fracture history. His greatness rested on restraint long before it rested on power. Andrew Carnegie practiced the same discipline. He refused to indulge resentment. He would not rehearse insult. Instead, he focused his thought on coordination, harmony, and purpose. While others argued, he organized. While others reacted, he planned. His legacy was not built by force of personality, but by force of mental order. The cost of mental disorder is not measured in days or even years, but in decades. One reactive decision multiplies into habits of reaction. One season of undirected thought becomes a lifetime of correction. Men do not lose time suddenly. They bleed it slowly through ungoverned thinking. Legacy men begin each day with thought before action. They do not permit the world to set the tone of their minds. They decide their inner posture before the first demand appears. This is not mysticism. It is strategy. A man who begins the day ruled will end the day exhausted. Repetition is the mechanism of authority. Each time you choose thought deliberately, you train the subconscious to obey. The mind learns through use, not intention. Thought ruled once is effort. Thought ruled daily becomes instinct. This is how inner government becomes permanent. As this discipline deepens, others begin to perceive it. They cannot name it, but they feel it. You appear steady, grounded, difficult to provoke. Your presence calms disorder. Your silence carries weight. This is not charisma, it is coherence. The world trusts what is internally aligned. Talent without mental rule produces collapse, not continuation. I have seen brilliant men fall because their thoughts outran their discipline. Ability without order is dangerous. Legacy requires not just power, but control of power. Without inner rule, success becomes a liability. There must be a daily act of quiet reflection before the world speaks, not for escape, but for command. This is where the census is taken. This is where thought is weighed, dismissed, or admitted. 5 minutes of inner order can save months of outer repair. Every day governed saves months of correction later. 1 year of disciplined thought saves 10 years of regret. Time compounds either way, through order or through neglect. The man who rules his mind daily quietly saves decades of his life. Say this, not as comfort, but as command, until your mind obeys it without resistance. I govern my thoughts. I permit only what strengthens me. I rule myself before I rule circumstance. No thought enters my mind without my consent. This discipline transforms the reactive man into inner authority. He no longer lives at the mercy of impulse. He acts from principle. And principle, practiced daily, becomes presence. Presence becomes influence. Influence becomes legacy. What you govern within is what the world will later remember without. The first inheritance you leave is not money, nor position, nor praise. It is the order of your mind expressed through your life. Govern it daily, and your name will carry weight long after your voice is gone. Thing 2. Render daily service beyond measurement. Legacy is not built by what you achieve for yourself, but by what continues to live because you were useful. History remembers contributors, not performers. The applause fades quickly, but usefulness echoes through time. A man may impress a crowd for an hour, yet only service earns remembrance when the crowd is gone. Service has been misunderstood as sacrifice. In truth, it is investment. Every act of usefulness rendered without immediate demand plants invisible credit with life itself. Life advances the man who advances value before demand. This is not charity, it is law. I have observed that the man who asks first, "What do I get?" remains small, while the man who asks, "What can I improve?" grows beyond calculation. One measures effort by reward, the other measures reward by effort. Only one of these men leaves something behind. Daily usefulness builds silent alliances with people and circumstance. Employers may not praise it, neighbors may not notice it, even family may overlook it at first. Yet the law never overlooks it. Service compounds quietly until one day the world responds as though by coincidence. Consider again the young clerk who served an elderly woman when service promised nothing. That act was not kindness alone, it was obedience to law. He aligned himself with usefulness when no transaction existed. That alignment rearranged his future permanently. Thomas Edison inspired loyalty not through wages, but through shared usefulness. His assistants worked beyond expectation because they felt part of something constructive. Men will endure hardship gladly when they believe their service matters. Money buys labor, purpose earns devotion. I call this the law of quiet contribution. The most powerful service is often unseen. Small daily acts shape reputation without announcement. Consistency builds trust long before results appear. Legacy never grows from transaction, it grows from contribution. Employers feel it, partners feel it, families feel it. A man who serves reliably becomes a point of stability. Others lean on him without explanation. He becomes necessary, not because he demands recognition, but because his absence would be noticed. Service trains humility, and humility preserves power. Pride resists correction. Humility absorbs instruction. The man who serves daily refines himself daily. That refinement protects him from the corrosion of success. Bitterness kills legacy faster than failure. A bitter man poisons the ground where his name might have grown. Failure educates. Bitterness erodes. Service dissolves bitterness because it keeps the mind outward, creative, and useful. Usefulness practiced daily becomes identity. The man no longer forces himself to contribute. It becomes his nature. When identity changes, reputation follows automatically. People trust what is consistent. This daily service saves time. It prevents years of repair, apology, and lost relationships. 1 year of usefulness often repairs damage caused by 5 years of neglect. Service restores what ambition alone destroys. Let this thought govern your conduct. I serve without measuring return. My usefulness multiplies my value. Life remembers what I improve. When usefulness replaces anxiety, respect replaces chasing. The man who serves well is never invisible for long. Legacy grows where contribution is constant. Thing 3, renew definite direction. Every morning. Most men do not lose direction through failure. They lose it through neglect. Purpose fades quietly when it is not revisited. Legacy men do not decide once. They redecide daily. Purpose is not a goal achieved, but a command renewed. I have seen men who once knew exactly what they wanted drift into confusion simply because they stopped reminding themselves. Direction decays unless maintained. A compass ignored eventually spins. Definite purpose must be renewed like faith. I call this daily direction renewal. Each morning the mind must be reminded who commands it and where it is going. Without this, thought fragments and effort scatters. There is a special tragedy in men who once knew their aim. They remember clarity like a lost youth. Yet memory alone does not move life. Decision does. Purpose is a living thing. It must be fed. Henry Ford refined direction through resistance. Each obstacle clarified what he was unwilling to abandon. His methods changed repeatedly, but his purpose never did. That distinction saved him decades of wandering. Dr. Frank Gunsaulus declared intention before evidence appeared. He spoke his purpose aloud until his own mind obeyed it. That obedience organized circumstance. Direction always precedes opportunity. Daily clarity saves decades of wandering. 1 year lived under direction equals 10 lived under drift. The difference is not effort, but aim. I call this mental compass calibration. Each day the compass must be aligned. The subconscious responds only to repetition. A single decision is a spark. Repeated decision is fire. When purpose is renewed daily, opportunity filters itself. Distractions lose appeal. Fear weakens. The man no longer asks which path to take. He recognizes it instinctively. Indecision multiplies regret. Every postponed choice trains hesitation. A man who delays direction teaches his mind to doubt itself. Confidence decays through delay. Others sense direction instantly. They trust men who know where they are going, even if the road is difficult. Certainty attracts cooperation. Uncertainty repels it. Persistence is not stubbornness. The legacy man adjusts method but never betrays purpose. He bends without breaking. That is why he endures. Direction calms fear. The mind at rest knows its destination. Emotional noise fades when aim is clear. Anxiety is the sound of wandering thought. Say this daily, not as comfort, but as command. I know my direction. I renew it now. Every action serves my purpose. Scattered effort becomes aligned life. Aligned life becomes remembered impact. A man who renews direction daily does not waste years discovering himself. He builds himself deliberately. Thing 4, expand yourself daily beyond comfort. Legacy is not what you leave behind. It is who you become before you leave. A man's influence does not come from his possessions, his position, or his reputation alone. It comes from the size of the inner man he has built through discipline. Comfort never builds that man. Comfort dissolves him quietly. I have watched comfort erase more legacies than failure ever did. Failure often awakens effort. Comfort lulls the spirit into rest before the work is finished. The world praises ease, yet ease slowly steals the hunger that creates greatness. A man who seeks comfort daily will one day be remembered for nothing more than existing. Persistence has been misunderstood as endurance alone. In truth, it is expansion. Each day you push beyond yesterday's limits, the inner man grows larger. Capacity increases. Perspective deepens. Strength accumulates. This is not strain. It is enlargement. I call this the law of daily enlargement. Repetition builds inevitability. A single effort proves little. 1,000 repeated efforts shape destiny. The man who grows daily becomes unavoidable. His influence expands because his character expands. Life cannot deny the man who has become larger than the obstacle placed before him. Thomas Edison's greatness was not found in his inventions alone, but in his willingness to continue when results delayed. Each failure strengthened his patience, sharpened his imagination, and enlarged his endurance. The man he became was greater than any device he created. Abraham Lincoln was shaped through defeat long before victory trusted him with power. Each loss expanded his humility, his restraint, and his understanding of men. By the time history called upon him, he had already grown into the weight of leadership. Comfort would have ruined him. Struggle prepared him. Resistance is proof of preparation. Life does not test small men with great burdens. It stretches those it intends to use. Each difficulty enlarges the soul that meets it without retreat. Growth is never pleasant, but it is always profitable. Habit is destiny under construction. What you repeat daily becomes your nature. Comfort repeated daily shrinks capacity. Discipline repeated daily enlarges it. The man who accepts small discomforts now prevents catastrophic regret later. Pain paid early is tuition. Pain delayed is penalty. There is an illusion that destroys many legacies, the belief that one has arrived. Arrival is the beginning of decline. The moment a man believes growth is no longer required, stagnation begins. Law never sleeps. What is not advanced is slowly withdrawn. Legacy men remain students forever. They do not mistake experience for completion. They refine, they adjust, they deepen. That humility keeps them growing long after others settle into routine. The world remembers learners because learners remain alive. Others perceive this expansion instinctively. They see calm strength where others show strain. They feel confidence that does not shout. Quiet confidence is the mark of a man who has grown beyond the need to prove himself. Faith at this level is continued action without evidence. It is the refusal to retreat simply because results delay. Faith grows stronger through motion. Every step taken in discipline strengthens belief. The man who moves daily grows unshakable. Stagnation begins the moment growth stops. Decline does not announce itself. It arrives disguised as rest, routine, and justification. The man who expands daily never fears time because time is working for him. Discipline today saves decades tomorrow. Each day you enlarge yourself. You reduce the cost of future correction. 1 year of growth prevents 10 years of regret. The arithmetic of life is unforgiving, but it is fair. Let this thought guide your conduct, not as comfort, but as command. I grow daily. I accept resistance as refinement. I expand until life must respond. The ordinary man seeks ease. The legacy man seeks enlargement. One fades quietly. The other leaves influence behind him that continues to work long after his hands are still. And this is the final truth I leave you. Legacy is not built in grand moments, but in daily decisions to grow when it would be easier not to. The man who enlarges himself daily does not fear the end of life, for he knows he has used it fully. What you do each day becomes what you are. What you are, repeated long enough, becomes what the world remembers. Expand yourself daily, and your life will not end where your breath does.